Introducing Zach Davis and Josh Anderson with the SoundMoney Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of SoundMoney, Sound Principles Podcast. My name is Josh Anderson, alongside today with Zach Davis. How are you, Zach?
I'm good, Josh. How are you doing?
Man, I am doing awesome. It has been an incredible few weeks in business for us. It's just been every once in a while, we won't get into the political things today, but every once in a while there's a breath of fresh air in the world that can start to change some perspective. You feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it feels like, in the business community, it feels like people are excited again, and there's some energy back out there in the environment.
Yeah, you'll want to tune into the next episode. We have a special guest going to come on and talk about some of the technological things that are happening right now in business based on some of the changes that are coming in January in America. And this expert, fully understands the ramifications of those. So we'll get into some of those political things and some of those, how those things work and why we're so excited. I mean, I would say that and for us, for the last 2 years, this has probably been the most excited we've been about the future and the opportunities that are available. And we're at the end of the day, we're just entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are constantly looking for opportunity, and opportunity is coming right now. So,
yep.
Today, Zach, it's kind of a unique time of year for us, right? I'm going to ask you a sincere question, and I'm looking for a sincere answer. Do you love this time of year? I caught him off guard. I got him.
That is a loaded question. If you ask my wife, she would say I'm the biggest Scrooge. This is not my favorite time of year. The last quarter of the year, no, I don't like this time of year.
You don't like this time of year?
I don't.
So I know we have a lot of listeners. They listen every week because they're really looking to gain some insight into the mindset of an entrepreneur, or maybe they're trying to fix some things in their business, or maybe they haven't even started their first venture, but they're getting ready to, right? They're wanting to, and they're looking for opportunity. One of the things you got to know about an entrepreneur is the fourth quarter, it's a challenge. So Zach, maybe just lay out a couple challenges that we run into every fourth quarter as business owners.
Yeah. So one of the major challenges, and by the way, the truth can be said on the other side too. There are some people who love this time of year because this is their wheelhouse, right? They love these challenges. So if you don't hate this time of year, it makes you weird to me. But you have a community probably.
I'm a mess. I actually don't like this time of year, and at times my wife has accused me of hating it.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So, and I'll share. We'll dig into that. We'll dig into that a little later. Why I love it, the parts that I love about it. But let's first set the stage of what it is about the fourth quarter that's challenging for business owners.
And I'm the same way. One of the biggest challenges is if you run a business at all that carries inventory, like you've tried to make your projections all year long, right? You've tried to figure out, if you're a contractor or parts or sales or whatever, manufacturing. Whatever it is, you've been trying to calculate what your growth pattern is going to be for the year. You've had to ramp up probably because you have this growth projection. So you bought extra inventory. And so the end of the year is kind of where you reconcile all that, where it's like, oh, crap, we didn't grow like we thought we were going to grow. And now we have all this inventory sitting here that either we can or can't sell. Maybe it has an expiration date, right? So that's a huge challenge in a business when you're dealing with any type of inventory, and that hits you right in the face at the end of the year because you got tax implications on all of that stuff that you've purchased. If now you're going to go try to liquidate it, you may not get the margins on it. Now you got to pay the tax on that. But so that's a huge challenge. One of the other challenges for the end of the year as well is just the taxes, right? And looking at where the year is, and this is the number one reason I don't like this at the end of the year is the taxes. This is the time of the year when you have to really start thinking about it, looking at your cash flow. Even though we don't file until October of next year, you're still going to have to pay that, right? And so you have to be looking at your cash flow, figuring out, do I have enough money in these accounts to pay my taxes? And, on years that you do really well, the next year paying your taxes, not too tough if you're still doing well. But if you have a drop off, which a lot of businesses are facing in 2024, They had a great 2023, so they have this really big tax liability. They had a really bad 2024. Most businesses, by the way, are down by 50% this year, if not more, in sales and revenue. So you have this great sales year in 2023. You file an extension, so you're gonna do your taxes in October, and now all of a sudden you have a terrible year in 2024, but you have to pay the tax on your 2023 revenue. So you don't have the cash flow, right? So it's like all those challenges hit you in the face. And the other piece to that is when you have a business, if you have lots of employees, this is going to sound really bad. And any of our employees that listen to this, I'm sorry, but this is just the truth. And you've not been in my shoes, so yeah. I don't expect you to understand this, right? I've never had a bonus in my entire life.
Me neither.
Because I've never worked for anybody really. I mean,
by the way, let me even put this out there. When does an entrepreneur make the least amount of money?
Right now.
November, December.
Right now.
The businesses can crush it, but that's when it's bonus time of year. You got to bonus the employees. You got to, or like you say, for tax purposes, you got to invest in. I wouldn't say assets because the government doesn't let you do that. You got to invest in expenses,
liabilities,
things like printing equipment or farming equipment, or if you're in the recreation space, new equipment. It's the time of year that an entrepreneur makes no money. Oftentimes, just no money, right?
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason why I don't even know. In the last 25 years, the vast majority of Novembers and Decembers, I have never been paid. So that's one of the reasons that fourth quarter is a little bit painful sometimes.
Yeah.
And employees, like I would say this to any employee listening, right? People out there that maybe are have a boss and have a job. The least productive time of the year is the week before Thanksgiving all the way until January 3rd or 4th. It's the least effective time of the year. Whether it's you take time off, the employees are taking time off, the families have things going on. We have a whole week off. A lot of businesses don't even work during Christmas and New Year's or Thanksgiving, the back half of the week. So your vendors take the week off, your suppliers take the week off. You can't I always say, if we can't get it done, Zach, by this Friday, well, people might be listening to this for time. If we can't get this done by November 20th,
it ain't happening.
It ain't happening until the first of the year. So
you better put it in your first quarter.
Yeah, it's just not happening. Like but it also means that, you and I had the luxury, 1st of November, everyone wants to come see us. So our Novembers are packed with vendors, suppliers, from around the world, right? We just had people in town from Switzerland, from Austria, from Mexico, from because they all got to come right now because they know if they don't get a deal done with us in all of these businesses we have, they don't get a deal done with us before the week of Thanksgiving. It's not getting done, signed, or agreed upon until the first of the year because just the whole world seems to come to a grinding halt. So those are some of the challenges.
And they're pushing, by the way, like they want to spend their money right now.
Yes.
Right. They don't want to defer their tax into next year. So they need to get the tax liability off of them. So they all come to town saying, hey, sign these contracts. We want you to buy all this stuff so they can sell their stuff. Right. And I mean, it's
get
like,
on the books
because they're going to have to go buy for next year's projects. Like, for example, one of our companies, a gold and silver company. Well, our manufacturers and the mints that we work with, they want to buy all of the raw product right now.
Right now for taxes.
For the projects that we're going to do next year, because they're going to get the revenue next year. But what they get to do is they get to go buy all that stuff right now to get that off their profit and loss statement so that they can show a loss or have less of a tax liability, right? So they're knocking on our door going, we want money, put in orders, put down payments in.
Like it's just the time of the year, right? The least amount of money around. Everybody wants money. Everybody needs it. Employees sometimes are the least effective for the year. So it can be a challenge, right? But both of us already just admitted that we also love this time of year. Like I love from the week before Thanksgiving all the way through the end of the year, because I do also get an opportunity, Zach, to step back. And I use this time to fully evaluate all of our systems, all of our employees. I mean, this is harsh to say, but during bonus time, it's really easy for me to reflect and go, well, dadgum, is that person really worth it? Did they really elevate their game this year? Did they make a difference to the bottom line? Did they help the company, right? So
And by the way, I better clarify my statement on bonuses because I left it hanging. That's the part I don't like about bonuses, right? I
yes.
love to bless the lives of families and see them win and all those things, but the difficult part is you have to make a business decision on whether that person did what they should have done to deserve the bonus they're getting, right? And you have to be the bad guy to say you didn't perform, right? Like, I'm sorry, but you didn't perform, so you're not getting the bonus. Like that's a hard thing for, and Josh knows how hard that is for me.
It's really hard for you. It's not so hard for me, but
that's why we work good together.
That's why we work good together. You know, I always get to fire people. So, but that being said, right, it is a great time. This is what we want to focus on today. If you're a business owner, you're trying to become one, or you're just trying to learn some insights so you can be a better employee, so you can understand what maybe your boss thinks. This time of year is for really good entrepreneurs. It's a very reflective time period. It's a time to step back. Oftentimes we do get a little bit of time to not be in board meetings every week and not be bombarded. And so we get an opportunity to reflect and really think about the business. And we've said this before, if the company's not growing, and by growing, I don't mean sales, but if the company's not growing in innovative steps with systems, with technologies, with employees, you're falling behind. So it's a great time of year to stop, reflect, and do that. You know, we've been going through this exercise. You just mentioned, Zach, that the 2024 has been a big downer for most companies. You can pick any sector almost, and it has been a tremendous downturn, between 50 and 100% for most businesses in almost in every sector. Because of that, a reflective period is really powerful. And we just went through this exercise, right, in some of our businesses. Well, many of them, right? You and I just came from meetings yesterday about that. We just had a meeting, you and I, about one of our other businesses right now about that, where it's a time to maybe step back and look at where can we improve? Customer experience, how can that improve? Costings, how can that improve? Purchasing, how can that improve? Employment, employees, benefits that are outside of your traditional benefits, right? How can that improve? And it's, you know, a good business owner will use this time to fully reflect on all those things, and unfortunately also make hard decisions, right? So Zach, what does that process look like when you're trying to make hard decisions in a business around those things?
Yeah, I mean, it really is tough because you're looking at all the different sectors of your business, right? And evaluating all the people and the performance. You're looking at your sales spreadsheets, and by the way, to do this, you have to know how to. So if you don't know how to do this, you need to go figure it out. You need to know how to read a balance statement, a P&L, right? You've got to have
Cash flow statement. You got to know
cash flow statement. Like you have to be able to know what those documents are telling you, because in my experience, Josh, your employees can tell you a story, but when you look at the raw data, your data will tell you a totally different story. And I always say numbers don't lie, right? But liars can do numbers.
Amen.
So if you have somebody doing your numbers for you, they can paint a picture for you that you look at, and now you don't have all the data to make the decision. So one of the things that we do right at the end of the year is we start looking at the financials even closer. And especially, by the way, when you have a down year, it's actually really good for you, because in the fat years, everybody gets fat, right? It's what you find out happening in your thin years is you've got death by 1,000 cuts going on, and you start finding all these little places where it's like, well, why did we buy that? Why are we having inefficiencies here? Why did we make this decision? Well, money was everywhere, right? Nobody really stopped to think about it. They just went, oh, we're cash flush, let's just do it. So we start looking at all of our systems. We start looking at all of our employees' performances. We look at the numbers. We reevaluate all of our employees set goals. We set goals. So, here in the next month or so, Josh and I will sit down, we'll look at our different businesses, and we'll go, okay, what are our goals for this year? And so you'll look at all your previous metrics. Did we hit the goals? Do those metrics need to change? So those are a lot of things that we look at. We really dig into the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. That tells you what's going on in your business.
The numbers don't lie, but like you said, sometimes and it's the nature of all good men and women to try and paint a picture that makes them look more favorable. And so if you don't know how to dig into those financial statements and really understand them, and by that I mean, um, take time to understand and study your profitability margin, right? Your gross margins on products, your understand your net income versus your gross sales and your expenses. We just went through this. Most of you probably don't know, one of the spaces Zach and I are involved heavily in is the recreation space, right? Whether that be trampoline parks, hunting ranches, motorcycle touring businesses, right? We're heavy in recreation, right? We felt like a few years ago that was a sector that was going to do well. It's done well for us. And so we're heavy in the recreation space. The recreation space took a dramatic hit in 2024. Trampoline parks for us are down about 90% for the year in sales. Like that's an astronomical number, right? Our recreational outfitting businesses are down by that same kind of number. We spent a significant amount of time this last week. You said death by 1,000 cuts. One of those businesses we were analyzing, and come to find out, little things like purchases of less than $200 for miscellaneous repairs, right? Miscellaneous repairs. So this is a hunting lodge that we have. Miscellaneous repairs under $200. So that means somebody swiped a credit card at the local Ace or the hardware store, right?
Amazon,
Walmart to get, this is off the grid in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, but the little expenses under $200 totaled $94,000 for the year. But when we go back and ask the employees, whoa, what is this, right? They go, nobody can remember a $200 charge, let alone 260 of them for the year, right? And my point is, if you don't take the exercise this time of year, when you do have a few minutes, if you don't take the exercise to go through it, you can't ever fix it. And like you said, when the lean times come, we love them. Like I really do personally love the lean times because it makes us dig in and go, wow, we could do better in that area, right? Or we could build a process around that that's a little better, and we can maybe take that down so it's a quarter of that next time. And then the next time the fat years come, the hogs get fatter even, and because you're more efficient. But if you're not taking the time to do that, you're really falling behind.
Yeah, 100%. And if you don't, and here's the thing, like if you don't do anything about it, then it's your own fault, right? And we just went through some stuff where we looked at some expenses and all this kind of stuff, and had some meetings with employees, and it was really interesting, Josh. Like it was really interesting. You start finding out who is on your team, right? When you start having to have these really difficult conversations about, we got to cut this, or we got to cut that, or this department needs to lean up by 20%, or we're not going to do these things anymore. You start really seeing who's on the team and who's all of a sudden like, oh, I'm out of here. This isn't looking good, right? They get scared. And it's not like the company's going out of business. Like the company I'm talking about, there's no jeopardy of going out of business. But it's time to start looking at it going, we used to be a small, nimble company with a few employees, and now it's become a bigger company. You get bureaucracy that creeps in. Everything starts getting slow. It starts getting laborious. Too many people have to get in the process of making decisions. And so decisions don't get made, things don't happen. And so you have to start looking at going, okay, how do we get this thing efficient again and nimble? And some people, and I'll admit this, by the way, me, Josh already said it. I hate firing people. It is the hardest thing for me in the world to do. If I have to do it, I will do it. There's some people that can't do it. There's just some people that cannot do it, and they will defend their employees or their staff or whatever to the end of the moon. And when you look at the financials, there is no justification for what's going on, right? It's an interesting process.
It is, and at the end of the day, a business is a living, breathing organism. And this is going to sound heartless, but it's the best companies in the world, the most effective, most profitable, giant companies, treat it with no emotion. It sounds heartless, right? But they treat it with no emotion. When Elon Musk went into Twitter, there was no emotion when he cut 200% of the employment, right? When he had the first downturn at Tesla, and he went in and got rid of 1,500 employees. There was no emotion, right? It's business. I'm sure we have a lot of small business owners listening, and small business owners generally have a lot of family, personal friends, neighbors who work with them. And when a downturn happens, the reason why most small businesses never make it to their 5th year and then have a real struggle making it to year 10 is because of that. Because when the down times come, and by the way, in a 10-year period, there will always be downturns.
It's the cycle.
Okay. They can't make the hard decisions fast enough because they involve people that they love. I mean, Zach, it's hard, right?
Well, you know what? So I'm gonna. This is something that I've always appreciated about my relationship with Josh.
Oh,
is in our business, the reason why I think it works so good for us over the years is because we're different in several different ways. Like, you really shouldn't try to find a business partner that's just like you.
No,
because if you find a business partner that has different skill sets and personality things, it's like it can cause some conflicts.
They gotta work the same as you.
Yeah, they gotta believe the same as you. But yeah, years ago, like, I hope you don't hate me for telling this story, but years ago, Josh was the acting CEO of a company. I was doing all the marketing stuff, and we had to go to lunch, and Josh had to fire his own mom.
Oh, geez, yeah. Well, that's true.
I would have waited a lot longer, right? But one of the things I appreciate Josh, he's like, well, we know we need to do it. Why not? Why wait? We need to just do it now, right? And he went and did it. But that's a hard decision that you have to make as an entrepreneur and a business leader, whether you own your own business or you're sitting in the chair as a CEO or a COO. You dang well better have the tenacity to make those decisions, or you're not going to sit in your chair very long.
Now, she didn't forgive me all the way until she died, Zach. So that's probably a bad example, but it's true, right? Like in business, when lots of times in business, as a company grows, probably one of the hardest things is companies often outgrow their original management team. And many of our business failures have been in the past because we did not identify that early enough. And we felt like we couldn't hire above people because of loyalty, that they were there in the beginning, right? Thank goodness for those business losses, because over the years, they've made me a lot more callous to that. And I realized that when there's a problem and maybe you have somebody in the wrong seat on the bus, right? There's a book Daniel Pink wrote years ago called Good to Great. And in that book, he references that once you identify that someone is in the wrong seat on the bus, maybe they're driving the bus, but they are really bad at driving the bus over mountain passes. You got to get rid of them. Or you got somebody in the wrong seat of the bus where they were hired as a director of sales. And of course, people make assumptions that when the company grows, I might become the vice president of sales. But along the way, you identify and realize that this person can't maybe grow it beyond that. And that happens in business. When it happens, you have to be willing to hire above someone, even if that means that they leave. And that's a lesson. If you're a young starting business and you're going through that today, and it's the time of year that you're going through it, because this is when it happens, you can't be afraid to make decisions that will grow the company or kill it. And if indecision is usually what kills a real company. That's what kills it.
Yeah. I mean, so two thoughts for our employed listeners. So those of you who are thinking about being an entrepreneur or starting your own business, or maybe you're not, you're just listening to this because you're like, I just want to hear what these morons are going to say next. But if you're an employee, don't put yourself in that position, right? I just talked to a young man the other day that said he's having a hard time at work. One of his coworkers saying, I don't get paid enough to do this or whatever. That is the fastest way to lose your job. Like, I understand that there's personality conflicts, and you might not feel like you're getting paid enough. And I'm telling you right now, your boss doesn't feel like you're doing enough work for the money you're getting paid. That is just the nature of the deal. your boss is going to pay you just enough not to quit. And you're going to work just hard enough for him not to fire you. But
That's the equation.
Yeah,
That's
but that is a
equation.
that is a really bad equation. So if you're sitting in the driver's seat of a company, or if you're a rank and file employee and you're wanting to move up the ladder, do more than you're asked to do. Like, it will come back to you. Even if you feel like you're not getting paid enough to do that, don't put yourself in that position where whoever is over you has to look down the list at the end of the year and go, well, you know what? Underperformed, got to get rid of him, bad attitude, right? Like, just don't put yourself in that position. Go above and beyond. If you're
Exactly.
Be the best one of those employees that you know how to be. Look for ways to lift and bless the company, move it forward, and you will be rewarded one day for that.
I just had this conversation with one of our employees about a month ago. I said, and this wonderful lady, right? She comes from a background where she's used to be very heavily involved with companies that worked out of Silicon Valley, held massive fundraisers for them. And the biggest companies like the Googles and the Apples of the world, came into their fundraiser events and their charities. And she'd been, overseeing one of our recreation properties for quite some time. And in this process of this conversation, I said to her, hey, I need so-and-so to take care of this task. The task was no good. Like, it's not a good task. It's not a fun task, but it absolutely had to be done. Right. And she said to me something. She said, well, that's not in their employment contract. And I just stopped her and I said, hey, we don't have roles in an employment contract around here. If there's a task that needs done, and if that individual doesn't go do it, they probably won't be with us in the future. Like, so to your point, if you want to increase your stock, you want to increase your ability to earn in a company, increase your value, and it won't immediately come back by payment. It may come back by not getting laid off in the next round of cuts in the world.
Yeah.
It may get paid off by not even in this business, but in the future business that person is involved in. They go, I really got to have that person back. They did anything and everything that was not asked of them. But when we pigeonhole ourselves, right? Like, and this happens, this is the pride cycle of all men and women in business. When we pigeonhole ourselves into, this is what I do. I'm an accountant. I take care of the incoming expenses of the company, invoices. Or I'm in shipping and I receive product. I don't ship it. Or if I'm in this case, I'm in maintenance. But I don't take care of horses. That's the fastest way to fail. If you want to add value in this world, you got to go, I'll do whatever. If you pigeonhole yourself, it's just a death spiral. You're no longer going to be with that entity, and you're not going to be happy, and they're not going to be happy. But if you find ways to add value, on the flip side, do we have people, Zach, that are unbelievable throughout all our vast companies? Do we have people that are unbelievable at adding value?
Yeah, 100%. And Josh, if in a growing environment, when you're growing and expanding, where do we look first to promote? Where do we look first?
Always within for us.
So, I mean, you just have to know, like, whoever your supervisors are, it might not be your direct supervisor, but somebody's watching you. And almost every company I know of promotes from within first. The easiest place to fill a space, if you're growing and expanding, the easiest place to find someone to promote is inside your own organization. You know what you have. You can backfill those other positions with people that you don't know and teach and train them. But you've already spent all this time teaching and training somebody in your company for your culture, your organization, your structure, systems, processes, all that. So make yourself marketable. Like, just give your boss a reason to want to promote you.
And I would say with that, right, on that same vein, always be learning, right? Again, don't pigeonhole yourself into something because that's what you've been doing. Always be learning. Like, I watch, I just was watching a young man that's expanding in one of our companies, and he's constantly taking online courses. He's not in social media. He's not in metadata. He's not in that field today. He's constantly taking courses, in free courses, by the way, on the internet. Like, everything's for free anymore. Taking Harvard courses for free on understanding how to use metadata. understanding how to use that metadata to drive back end sales through the web. The person is not anywhere in sales, not anywhere in those areas, but not anywhere in IT. But when I see that, I go, that's a winner.
100%.
Constantly learning so that they can increase their skills, so the company has more value because they have more skills.
Yep.
Man, we could. I'm sorry, Yellowstone's going to be on TV forever, right? Like you can watch it later, like for real.
Yeah,
you can. So
well, and with that too, Josh, comes the mentality of a never quit, right? If you're always learning, you have that mentality of always learning, then when you're and learning outside of your scope too, when you have challenges inside of what your responsibility is, if you have that mentality and you run up against a roadblock, you already know how to frame that challenge. And it's not that I tried or can't do it. It's I'm going to go learn additional things because there's something here I don't know to help me overcome this hurdle. In a meeting yesterday, I was frustrated beyond frustrated and extremely disappointed in some of the employees that we were visiting with. That there was so in one of our companies, we build really high-end, super cool collectible coins, right?
Really cool stuff.
And in that gold and silver space, they do awards every year for these really cool coins that come out. Do you have that coin, Josh?
I'm going to show you. Yeah, I'm going to show you two of them. I have right here. I have the first ever concave coin, Grand Canyon. The canyon goes down in the coin about a half an inch, or I think you're referring to this coin.
Do you have the speed of sound coin? There you go.
So this is the speed of sound. It's a three-dimensional coin. I know you can't really see it. It's too much reflection, but that airplane comes completely off the coin. And on the back side is the first time ever that you've had three-dimensional on both sides of a coin, ever in the history of the world. And we did that.
And then, I mean, this coin took 4 or 5 years to make.
Yeah.
Broken dies like crazy. So long story short, we were having a conversation with some of our vendors who were in town to help us make these coins. And they had won some awards over in China for one of the cool coins they made. And I told the guy, I said, I want to win coin of the year. Like, we need to win coin of the year for one of our designs. And one of the individuals that is responsible for helping us design these coins, that's an employee of ours, right? I looked at him and I said, the goal is to win coin of the year. We want to win that. Do you remember what he said to me?
Yeah,
he looked right at me and he goes, I tried. I almost fired him on the spot.
There's no trying in our world. Like
what?
There's just continuing to fight. Like
what that sounded to me like was, I don't think we can do it. Not really that interested. I don't want to be around people like that, right?
Never.
I don't want to have people on the bus like that. Like the response should have been, yeah, look, we're going to set up systems and we're going to process, we're going to submit these things. Here's what we're going to do. Here's our plan. Like, I did not want to hear, oh, I tried. What?
And if
so now guess what? Guess who's watching that guy? I am.
Yep.
And if he does not perform, I'm looking for the next reason to backfill him with someone who shares our vision.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, right? Like this gentleman wasn't even on your radar, right? Like this is a big organization.
I hardly even knew him.
Yeah. And so, but now he's on the radar. He's on the radar because of those statements, right? Like, so if you're listening, right, I realize I was at a football game last week and I had 3 people come up to me who listened to the podcast while they were driving the 4 hours to a football game. And these are people that just they're subscribers and they listen, right? And all of them work for someone today. They all have jobs. And in each of their cases, I was asking questions like, why do you listen? They say, I'm just trying to be a better person and understand my boss better and my role with him better. Guess what? So if you're one of those people, these are some secrets, right? Add value, continually learn, fill some of your free time with learning in your space about other things that you can accomplish. I'm going to close with this, and I'm going to ask Zach to share some last parting words. I read a book years ago. I cannot remember the name of the book. I can see it. It's blue. It's got some royal gold on it. In that book, a chapter was dedicated and written around the CEO of JetBlue. I just can't remember the book's title, but it's going to come to me. But about 30 pages are dedicated to the CEO of JetBlue, who was a revolutionary within the space of avionics and the airline industry, right? He did some things with slashing prices, one of the first discount airlines. But inside of that, he challenged on his first day of the company, he challenged all the employees, no matter what station they were, pilots, maintenance, janitorial services, down to, and then stewardesses. He said, I expect all of you to cross-learn someone else's job and bring me ideas, thoughts around how we can improve their job. Now, you would never think this in the airline industry. People thought he was crazy. American and Delta Airlines thought he was crazy because how does the janitorial services cleaning the airplane, how does that person give counsel and instruction to a pilot? He called it the God figure pilot, right? Like the pilot that I'm trained and I'm the man and I'm the woman and I know what I'm doing. But he said the greatest changes in his business came from people that were tightening bolts on wheels in the maintenance center about things that the pilots could do different. The actual way that we use aviation software today came from someone in his janitorial services. He goes on to say in that book that make yourself valuable and learn everything about the business that you're in on your own free time, not on the company's dime, on your own free time. Because when you do that, inspiration will come to you. And when that inspiration comes to you and you share it with someone else, yes, will some people not listen? Maybe you got the wiener boss. I get it. But somebody's going to listen. And somebody's going to say, my goodness, that person has value to our company. And everything can change. And if nothing else, going through the exercise, the next opportunity that comes in your life, you'll be better prepared for it because you've learned how to learn, and you've learned how to look at every aspect of your business. So I'm even saying that to our own employees. But most of our employees around the world listen to this, Zach. If you're in shipping in one of our entities, learn what marketing does. Learn what printing does. If you're in one of our recreational businesses and you take money at the till, learn what the guides do. Learn what their job is. Learn a little bit about horses or meat science, right? Learn a little bit about engineering behind trampoline, why it's set up the way it is. Learn, add value, so that when you get to this time of year and some big bad wolf like me or Zach, who might, will even fire his own damn mom, has to look at a financial statement and make some cuts every once in a while, that you're nowhere near the line, nowhere near it, because you've bettered yourself. And so that's my parting shots today. What do you got for us for the listeners today in our parting shots today?
Yeah, and you may not, by doing that, you may not navigate the layoff, right? Because they may just need to cut the position, and it has nothing to do with your skill set. But if you've done what Josh just said, they might find another position for you in the company, or if you need to go someplace else, you have made yourself more employable to the next company, right? You don't do yourself any favors by saying, well, I'm not going to do this because I don't like my boss. You only hurt you because you don't grow and get better. So it's sound advice. I might share this real quick, Josh, we have a lot of listeners who are solopreneurs, right? They're in sales. They run small organizations or large organizations of salespeople and teams and whatnot. So real quick, if we got time, I'm just going to run through a few of the metrics that I think they should be looking at the end of the year.
Yeah,
for going into next year, right?
Yes. So
if you're running sales organizations or managing teams, right? Some of the things that you need to be looking at, because you're not carrying inventory, you don't have employees, you might be working with, they're all private contractors, right? They're on their own free will and choice, but you still have the ability to lead, and you can still look at your organization and go, okay, what were the goals that I had this year for the size of the team, sales team I was trying to grow? Did we hit that? If we didn't hit it, be honest with yourself about why. Start looking at the other numbers, right? Look at the amount of meetings that you did. Look at the amount of phone calls that were held, or Zoom meetings, WebExes, How much time did you spend with your top leaders or your top salespeople? Like those types of metrics will tell a story in your business, and you can look at it and go, okay, I didn't grow my organization the way I wanted to because I didn't spend as much time with my top leaders that I should have, building vision with them, helping gain skill sets. You need to look at your own personal sales goals. Did you hit them or did you not hit them? Right? How many personal phone calls did you make? What were your commissions and how much money did you make? And what is your next goal? So those are some of the metrics that you need to start looking at, because you might be listening and going, well, I don't carry all these inventories. I don't have all these employees and all this stuff I need to go through. But you still have system and processes that you go through every single day, whether you know it or not. You need to compartmentalize those, and you still need to know how to read a P&L. Look, if you're traveling all over the country doing meetings and you think you're making money and you don't know how to read a P&L, guess what? You might find out that you're not making money. And you might need to change the way you do things and go, well, instead of traveling to these areas, I'm going to do web meetings until this area grows enough to support me traveling. Right? So those are some of the things that you need to look at as solopreneurs and moving into 2025 of what you're going to do different. If you do that, and sometimes it's scary because it tells some things about you don't like to see or hear. But if you don't do that, you're only cheating yourself, because you can't make the minor tweaks that you need to make in your own organization. Maybe you need to fire you, right? And take a real look at it and go, man, if I wouldn't hire me. You might find out when you look at that and go, I just wouldn't hire me to go around the country and do this. And if that's the case, now you know, I better go get better at this skill set. And you've got a new goal, right? So those are some things I think our solopreneurs can focus on too.
Well, I appreciate that, Zach. And it's been a lot of fun today to just give some insight into what can make this time of year more effective and better. And for those of you that have small businesses, large businesses, or you're working for someone else, right? There's something in here today that as you heard it, you thought, I could probably do that better, or I could do that. I'm just going to beg you, right? Like, write it down, do it. The reason it was brought to you is so that you could become better. And I have no doubt that each one of the listeners had a moment today where they thought that. So we look forward to seeing you next week. We're really excited for our next guest. You'll have to join us on the next episode. We're going to be really digging into what's happened in this last election cycle, and not necessarily from the perspective of who won and who lost, but what it means for entrepreneurs. Some of these political appointments and some of the things that are going to be happening starting January 20th. So look forward to seeing everybody next time on the Sound Money, Sound Principles podcast. My name is Josh Anderson alongside Zach Davis. You guys have a great day.
All right, see you guys. If you found value, go share it with your entrepreneur friends.
Perfect.